The two main points of the Benedictine rule, prayers and work, they did not change since Hildegard. And this is also characteristic for our life here, so we have to earn the money for our life and all things here, the house and so on, by our own hands, as it's said in the rule of St. Benedict.
Hildegard, I think, has the right test, which is the test of the via transformativa. Is this creativity being put to the use of justice and compassion, or for other more dark and shadowy purposes?
So she started to write her big works, the Scivias, between 1141 and 1150, and the Liber Vitae Meritorum in the 1150s, and the Liber Divinorum Operum in the 1160s.
It also moved her to keep studying. She devised what we might think of as her own program for continuing education.
She wrote two works on we call nowadays medicine, but it's not really about medicine because she compiled the knowledge of her time concerning herbs and such things. And it is a difficult thing because you cannot divide it from the Creator, from God. And if you do that, then it goes in the esoteric way and something like that. And this is not what we want to do in our shop. So we have just some herbs or something, but not what other people would like us to have. So.
In some religious practices, a relic usually consists of the physical remains of a saint or venerated person preserved for the purposes of veneration as a tangible memorial. The first time I encountered the reliquary of Saint Hildegard, there was no denying that sweetness, like a flower to a bee. Our group, having been invited by the nun to make an offering of song, did so, and having not practiced myself, I found myself singing in perfect harmony as tears streamed down my face. I was not alone.
Deiner Klarheit erkennen. Darum bitten wir durch Jesus Christus, deinen Sohn, unseren Herrn und Gott, der in der Einheit des Heiligen Geistes mit dir lebt und herrscht in alle Ewigkeit. Amen.
When I returned 6 months later, it was her first official feast day. I was walking with Saint Hildegard and part of a great wholeness that is limitless as I discovered that auspicious day. There I was with her in that brisk September air, walking together.
Because I had lived part of my life in the convent, I connected with so much of who this Hildegard person was, even though I didn't really have a lot of facts yet. And it was more people saying to me, you know Hildegard? Do you realize how much you're like Hildegard? When we read the sacred word, and it may be something from the Bible, or it may be something from poetry, it could be different things. And when we read that, then instead of preaching, what I do is I set the sacred container and I begin to ask questions so that people can begin to relate the stories of their lives and how they intertwine with the sacred story and thus discover their own sacredness.
When you see someone who is doing what they love, you want to be a part of that. It's like invitational. And so I feel that these are things that Hildegard, that was a way she was. She was invitational.
Hildegard had a sense of being human that never departed from her.
Well, there's just so many demands on people's time. And with all of the social media and all the networking now and all of that, is there a way to balance that too with some quiet time? Because she was a very, very busy person, but she also took time to be quiet and to be reflective. So I think that's something that all of us can learn from.
She had the imagination to see that women should not be oppressed. You know, she really saw it. It's astounding, actually.
I ran into a man at a conference who was Native American, and he came up to me and he said, I've been working in prisons for 12 years. He said, men in prison are busy projecting. So yours is the first book I've ever used in 12 years that got men to look inside and find the nobility inside. That was very moving to me, the nobility inside, that men have sacrificed. They're out of touch with their own nobility. Now, the whole culture has brought this about. The ideology and theology of original sin brings that about. Original sin cuts you off from your nobility. And I believe consumer capitalism is built on original sin ideology. It's a secular version of original sin. You don't have what it takes inside, so you got to buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, and you can't afford any of it. And so you go around, you know, being passive and depressed, and become a couch potato and buy more potato chips. So you can see this consciousness of isolation and of only a fewer mystics, only a fewer artists. It just builds a whole narrative of disempowerment.
Our service is very interfaith, trans-denominational is what we've been calling it, because we do pick wisdom from all the traditions and try to incorporate it into our Sunday gatherings. And we always begin Sundays with Namaste, so the divine that's present in me recognizes and honors the divine that's present in you. And we honor each other with a vow. And then we take some time for meditation and move into a reading, and then I do a sermon. And then what makes our service unique is that we do what we call a unity ceremony every Sunday, and it differs based on what the theme is. But the idea is that we have a communal experience that we share together so that after the service we can process it together. And it's hopefully a spiritual experience that triggers things, challenges people, moves people out of their comfort zone, so that there's continual growth in the community. And we challenge each other with it.
The Spirit flows through all things. It is what we tap into with what she calls greening power. And we tap into it with our imaginations and our creativity. This is why she says there's wisdom in all creative works. And obviously, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's a great idea. A patron saint of the artist would be Hildegard.
It's that power of creation. We all need to think about what can we create in our world so that way we can affect profound change. And it's through doing what we love. Create what you love. And then in turn, I think that heals ourselves, because it brings that very positive vibration and that very positive radiance and luminance to ourselves, to our work, and to all that we're doing.
And this is why the Grecian tradition that Hildegard so fully incarnates is about empowerment for everybody. And we all have to find the cosmic Christ inside us. Hildegard paints it, the man in sapphire blue in every one of us. I've always taught, and I've created programs of pedagogy to bring the mystic out of people. So I've always taught this, that we're all mystics, and we should get off the pedestal and get others off the pedestal.
Music was God's theology, God's technology to make us one with Him. You know, we all want to be part of that energy when we're singing. We want to sing with others. We want to be part of that uplifting that happens when we sing.
So every element, she saw every star, every planet, the whole universe is sort of united within this idea of rationality. That's what gave it its greenness, its fecundity. The word was pregnant throughout all of creation. And she saw her role as a teacher as preaching and teaching and imbuing that rationality within her sisters as she taught and expounded upon the scriptures in her homilies and in her writings and in her art and in her music.
And I think the other thing that resonates with us today is her boldness in speaking out to emperors, popes, people in power of all types, out of her moral conviction and from her moral teaching about what behavior furthers the good of all humankind and what behavior destroys it, destroys the universe, mars the history of salvation.
So all along the line, humans have to be alert. This is what being a warrior means. You have to be alert. Who's paying a paycheck? Who's profiting from it? Who's suffering from it? That are unjust because they rupture the web of creation, to use Hildegard's term. If you sold your soul for that, you're complicit in the evil. Creative people can be bought, as Jesus said it, we sell our souls all the time.
But I think she can be a model for us of holding to what's true for us and not going off, kind of half-cocked about thinking, well, what I think is right and no one else is wrong, but to really discern that and with other people, with resources, and then not to yield, not to give up their own conscience, not to give in to something that would really destroy their own sense of well-being and integrity.
There's no one idea that Hildegard puts forward that we can use as the describing factor of her entire corpus. That it's so complex and so original that you can't say that there's just this one scripture verse that completely describes what Hildegard is doing. She's vastly hard to put into a box. Unlike other doctors of the church like Aquinas, which distinguishes her in a way, is both a visionary and, more importantly for me, is an intellectual.
Creator
As I discovered, Hildegard's spirit is still alive, ready to awaken us to our own unruly mystic. It may take courage, but the end result is no less than becoming closer to the Spirit of God within each of us. I wish to inspire you on your own divine path of creativity and spirituality, the ultimate awakening to your own unruly mystic. That is my intention in this moment.
But 1 person out of 3 in our society has cancer. This is ridiculous to wait till everybody has cancer. The best thing is preventing, and this you can do with Hildegard remedy. And this is the biggest mistake in the pharmaceutical company today, is that they don't look in nature anymore. You don't have to rediscover anything new. It's all there already. You only take it from nature, isolate it, and see what it does. When I started in '84, I had about half a patient a week because Dr. Herzka was not there. We worked together 17 years. We wrote a lot of books. So it's very slowly it increased, and I said 3 years I'm gonna make it, and then I'm gonna see how it's gone. And after 3 years, it was building up. And today I have so many patients. I wish I had more help. I wish I had anybody who could help me and do Hildegard treatment, because the patients love it dearly. I treated in the meantime 30 years about 30,000 patients. What I also feel, and this is very spiritual, Hildegard is the first one and the only one who has a Christian system of medicine in respect of a holistic system. She has spirituality, theology, cosmology, she has music and healing arts, and she has all in her books, in her work included. And this is our traditional healing system in the Western world.
She had gardens, she grew herbs. There's a whole book of herbal medicine that she developed. Natural healing. She's one of our first, an ancient natural healer.
And many of Hildegard's practices of using an egg for healing, of using herbs, of using stones, those are in the curandera tradition.